Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Olivia. I'm one of the librarians for Kirklees Libraries.
And I'm Tiffany. I'm also a librarian for Kirklees Libraries, and this year I've been one of the judges for the Greenaway Awards representing Yorkshire.
And we want to welcome you to today's extra special LAL Plus. So it's a Library Adventures Live, but not as you know it. It's all about the Greenaway Award today, which Tiff's going to be talking about in a few minutes. First of all, just to bring you up to speed, just to make sure we all know what Library Adventures Live is. It's a programme that we run every Tuesday, normally, 11 o'clock. And we have different authors and illustrators and poets and rappers. And you can tune in every week to find out a little bit more about them, see what they've been up to. And you can find out all about it on our website. You can watch old sessions. You can see what's coming up in the future. But every now and again, we get something very special coming along, such as the Greenaway Award, where we want to do an extra session. So that's why we're here on a Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And for today's session, you are going to need some paper and a pencil or a pen.
Lovely. I've got mine ready. So the Greenaway Award is a book prize for a children's book with outstanding illustration in it. So there's 8 books that have been shortlisted for the prize. We get to find out the winner next month in June. And I'm absolutely delighted that we've got Sharon King-Chai with us today to talk about her book Starbird. She's a fantastic, talented illustrator, designer, author, and it's absolutely wonderful that she can join us. And I think we'll bring her onto the screen so you can meet her.
Good morning.
Hi, Sharon.
How
Morning.
are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Excellent. We're not bad. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so delighted to be here.
We're excited to have a Greenaway shortlisted author, illustrator and author of the book as well. So
thank you.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you go, please.
I was just going to say you can get in touch with Sharon. So if you've got any questions, what you can do is you can type them into the chat. So you might be watching this on Facebook, Twitter or YouTube. You can type them into the chat and then we can ask them to Sharon later on or give you a shout out. So please get in touch. That would be great. Right. So Sharon, we loved your book. We love Starbird. And when we do our Greenaway sessions, because we normally do these sessions in a school with real life children right in front of us. And for the first session, it'd normally be a series of about 6 sessions. And for the first one, we would wrap all the books, literally wrap them all in cling film so you can't open them. And we just look at the front and back covers. So I thought we'd start today's session, just spend a couple of minutes just looking at the front covers and seeing what we can find out about them. If that's okay with you?
Yes, that sounds brilliant. I love that.
Right, I'm just going to put the front covers up on screen here. So can you just tell us, to start with, Sharon, why have we got 2 here?
You have 2 because one is the hardback, which came out first. And then a few years later, we'll do a paperback version. And sometimes you might do the same cover, but we thought it was a good chance to sort of revisit the format. So it's actually a bit bigger than the hardback version. And I'm going to, I think we thought it was nice to sort of see a different angle of Starbird on this one. And we went for colour, so it was kind of quite bright and commercial as well. So that's why.
Well, we've had one of the schools has already, because I know some of the children watching this will have seen the book inside and some of them won't. We've had a question from Meltham, a C of E school in Meltham, and they've asked, where did you get the inspiration for the back cover of the book?
Oh, I like that.
The back cover's different as well, or are they the same?
They're slightly different, actually, just to kind of, I think I pulled in some red just on this one. That's a very good question. I guess back in the day, I used to do album covers, and I really love like 70s rock posters. So I'd kind of say it's slightly inspired by that. Yeah.
A little bit psychedelic.
Yeah. Indeed. I wasn't expecting that.
Fantastic. The other thing, we were noticing the use of negative space, weren't we, Tiff?
We were, yes. And
especially on this hardback.
Yeah, the hands from within the bird's wings. And I was wondering whether they're reaching out to release the bird or whether they're trying to pull the bird back.
That is the beginning question that sort of triggered off the whole book. But yes, that's a really good observation. I think I'd actually originally drawn them as a sort of Christmas card, and the idea was that they were to be freeing the bird, but then equally realized they could actually also, they're trying to capture the bird. So yeah, the thing I love about negative space is that there's almost like two sides to every story. So yeah, it depends on how you look at it.
We were there for ages, weren't we, Tiff, with our hands like this trying to work out. I've just got nice visions now of classes of 30 kids all sat there doing that as well, trying to.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the greatest hand drawer, so I do apologize if it's not anatomically correct, but it's nice stylized hands anyway. So it kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I like the way that, yeah, you can see it both ways at once, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe the children watching can decide what they think at the end of the story.
Yeah, that'd be good to hear.
And also have a think, if you're looking, if you've got if you can see both of the covers, have a look at what kind of story you think it's going to be. I mean, to me, it looks like the colourful one could, I don't know, it could be a more happier story, and the other one looks like it might be a more moving story, possibly. So I think what we need, Sharon, what we could do is for you to read the book now, because a lot of people won't have seen inside it yet.
Okay,
and then they can make up their own minds once they've heard it.
Excellent. Well, would you have a preference? Which one you'd like me to read?
Whichever one's easiest to hold up.
Okay, I'm not too sure, but I'll go for this one.
Cool. And afterwards, Sharon, I think you're going to be you've got a PowerPoint, haven't you, of sort of talking about your inspirations and your working practices and things.
Yes, definitely. Do you want me to go straight into that?
Oh, we've already had a question come in about we're going to save that one. We've had a question come in already from Heaton Avenue Primary School. So we're going to save that one. We'll save that one for when you've read it. But so if you want to get involved, do type it in, because we are getting your questions. So we haven't forgotten you, Heaton Avenue. We'll come back to that one. Right, Sharon, we'll leave you to do this and we'll see you in a little while.
Starbird. For as long as he could remember, the Moon King had known the story of the legendary Starbird. There was only one Starbird, the beautiful and enchanted creature whose song wove the most magical dreams. The Moon King was overjoyed when he first became a father and wanted to show his love for his new daughter. No gold or jewels would be enough. One gift alone would be worthy of the princess, Starbird himself. The journey was long and perilous, but after many months he was rewarded. He had captured the fabled creature. Each evening at dusk, Starbird sang to the princess. His pure, sweet song lulled her to sleep and into the most magnificent dreams. And there's a little Moon King, and there is Starbird. One day, she noticed a sadness color in Starbird's voice. She could not bear to see him unhappy. The princess opened the cage door. "Go, be free, Starbird." He spread his wings wide with joy. Free at last, Starbird soared higher and higher into the sky, away from the castle and out of sight. When he learnt what the princess had done, the Moon King flew into a rage. How could his beloved daughter reject the gift he had risked so much to bring her? Angrily, he vowed to search the globe until he found Starbird and returned him to the castle. By day, the Moon King slept, and Starbird could fly freely in search of his home. But as day turned to dusk, the first star of the night appeared and warned Starbird to hide before the Moon King awoke. With a flutter of thanks, he swooped down to the jungle world below him. Here he befriended all the creatures who were enchanted by his songs. As a dark cloak of night descended, the stars and his new jungle friends helped Starbird hide, safe from the Moon King's piercing gaze. That's a Moon King, seen as a full moon. But the jungle was not home, and when morning came, Starbird set off once again. He flew so far and low, the lantern liquid. Whoosh! The cold water engulfed him as he entered the underwater wonderland. The sea creatures were fascinated by him, and that night kept him hidden from the omnipresent Moon King. Can you see what's happening to the moon there? He's getting smaller. But Starbird knew he did not belong in the sea. When the sun rose, he flew far until the ocean below turned dry and dusty. In the desert, the heat was strong, but the animals showed him where to find shade and water to drink. As night fell, they clustered under the sprinkling of stars, hiding Starbird in the vast landscape. The moon is now a crescent. The next day, Starbird flew higher and higher to where the tops of the mountains scraped the sky and animals lived among the clouds. He reveled in the freshness of the cool air. Surely he would find his home soon. As the sun retired in the deep, dark shadows, the mountain creatures told Starbird of a faraway land where the birds sing together and make homes in trees as old as time itself. I notice that the moon has now disappeared, but it's still there. With hope and happiness in his song, Starbird woke before dawn. Perhaps he didn't notice that the stars were still gently twinkling. Perhaps he didn't see the Moon King hiding in the shadows. As he took flight, the Moon King pounced. Starbird was prisoner once again. The Moon King gleefully returned the caged bird to the castle, but life behind bars was no life at all. Starbird could no longer live this way. He could not eat or drink. He could not even sing. Starbird sat silent in his cage, defeated. The princess dared not defy her father again by opening the cage, but she begged the Moon King, "Father, Starbird doesn't belong here. Please, he can't sing anymore." "Nonsense," her father said. "He will sing again." But he didn't sing again. As the days passed, Starbird grew thinner and thinner, sadder and sadder. The princess pleaded with her father once again. "How could we be so cruel? Starbird belongs in the sky. Please, father." The Moon King looked at the tears in his daughter's eyes and looked inside the cage once more. The next day, when the princess went to visit Starbird, the cage door was open. A single feather lay on the floor. All that was left to show Starbird was once there. The Moon King embraced his daughter, his face salty with tears. She knew he finally understood. That's it. So now, I hope you enjoyed the story. I thought I'd tell you a bit about the making of Starbird and sort of the inspiration behind it. So I'm just going to start to share my screen. Hopefully this works. Starbird. So the idea for Starbird came about a couple of years ago, and it was coming up to Christmas time. At the House of Illustration in King's Cross, they'd have an illustrators fair where artists and illustrators from all around the country would come together to sell their goods. And I was going to do some Christmas cards and prints for this. So I was sort of in that space thinking about ideas for Christmas cards. And I had lots of festive imagery in my head. I was thinking about things like birds, stars, love, peace, and freedom. And sort of in a flash of inspiration, I drew this bird sort of seen from an aerial perspective. And as I was doing it, I thought it'd be cool to sort of play with the negative space, as we talked about, around the wings. And that's when I drew the hands. And this became the Christmas card, which I sold at the fair, but also I gave it to my publisher, Suzanne Carnell. And she was quite intrigued by the image and wondered what the story was behind it. So with that in mind, I thought it'd be a good place to sort of start thinking about a new idea. And around the same time, I did these prints as well. The idea was that they're jungle leaves, but then with animals hidden with the negative space in them. And I like the idea that you don't necessarily notice the animals at first. I think some people who've seen these prints sort of see the jungle leaves, but then I think one of my friends who had the elephant one said that she was playing the piano and then suddenly, like from nowhere, she suddenly realized there was this animal hidden that she never noticed before. And that's what I love about negative space, that depending on how you look at the image, that the whole sort of meaning of the image shifts entirely. And that sort of plays into the idea of it there being two sides to every story as well, which felt quite significant. So that was sort of the visual starting point for Starbird. And one day I was on an aeroplane to go into Canada. And I really love transport. I find that it's such a sort of inspiring place for me. Like I love thinking about ideas on transport. Just that you're all sort of exposed to all these different people. You sort of hear these different conversations, and past your window you get these amazing landscapes. And I think in retrospect, the journey that Starbird goes on when he's in search of his home through the mountains and the deserts and the sea, for example, were very much influenced by maybe being on the plane.
Sorry, can I just jump in for 2 seconds?
Yeah, please.
It's just I don't want people to miss out because you're describing all your fantastic things in this screen sharing in true technology style. It's not coming up properly.
How is it not coming up? Oh, okay. Oh, what can you see?
We can see the black square. Oh, that's doing something.
Oh, sorry, guys.
I wasn't sure. I didn't want to jump in earlier in case it was coming up.
Please do. Is this okay?
We've got the baby thumb now.
Okay, excellent. I'm very sorry. I should be more professional at this, but obviously...
No, this is technology for you.
Excellent. Is that working? Is that cool?
Yeah, that's working. Yeah. So we've got the baby hand now.
Okay, excellent. Do you want me to make it full screen? Is that?
No, that's cool. That's just perfect.
Is that okay? Or maybe it's full screen. Doesn't work.
Yeah, I think it's full screen. It doesn't like.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's perfect. How it is, Sharon.
Oh, okay, great, super. All right.
Sorry, I'll let you carry on.
I'm glad because I want you to see what I'm talking about. Okay. So for me, this was a very sort of significant story because it was the first book that I wrote as a mom. I think like those moments of having this newborn and holding this like, you know, pure innocent creature in my arms, just, you know, feeling so full of hope and love as well. And I sort of really want to celebrate, you know, children often have the ability to see things that adults just don't. And I think as an adult, it's often easy to sort of slightly lose focus and like lose away a bit. And often someone smaller and wiser than us can realign us back onto the right path. For me, someone who really sort of encapsulates this is Greta Thunberg, that, you know, she sort of sees the global warming and she's like, what are we doing, guys? Like, we need to do something about this. And then through the school strike for climate change, that she sort of could bring this issue to the attention of the whole world. And I think children have got such an amazing power and voice, and I really want to celebrate that. So it was a very significant part of the story for me. So once I had sort of like a basic words ideas down, I did a storyboard, which is where you put the words and pictures together to sort of see how it flows as a picture book. And I think one of the good things about being an author and illustrator is that you can sort of play around with it and slightly tweak it and change it as your ideas change. Starbird went through a lot of different evolutions, but I'm really grateful that I have a really amazing team at Two Hoots who I could sort of bounce my ideas off. For example, there was a moment where I thought that the ending, I was sort of so set that it had to be sad, just so you kind of like really hammered home the message of it. But I know that my editor, Suzanne, was probably not so keen on that approach. And I kind of felt that actually in the end, the open-ended approach felt right, because I like the idea that I can empower the readers to sort of determine the fate of Starbird themselves, and I want them to feel involved within the story as well. When it comes to drawing characters, I do loads of different sketches. Here's a few of them for the princess. And I sort of toyed with the idea of having blue skin, but then I thought actually she should feel human, a bit more relatable. The Moon King did end up with blue skin because he's got that sort of otherworldly presence. The Moon King's a funny character because it's very easy to sort of label him as evil and the bad guy, but actually this whole story sort of unravels because it starts from a good place, that he wants to show his love for the princess, and it's just that he slightly misconstrues that his love means that he has to possess this object, and the object actually is an object, it's actually a soul, and it's up to the princess to educate him and for him to come to that understanding that actually Starbird doesn't belong in a cage, and actually love is about setting something free as well. And when it comes to creating artwork, I like to use lots and lots of different materials and basically anything I can find to sort of make marks, and things like leaves. That seashell, I painted that and printed it, and that became the texture for Starbird's tail, for example. Toothbrushes, much to the amusement of my children. Potatoes are often used, onions, and I do also like paper cuttings as well. And so once I've got all these different like marks and textures, I'll scan them in and put them into my computer. Here's some of the ingredients. So for example, the jellyfish and the sea scene, they're created by, I cut bits of tracing paper. I use tracing paper because it's a bit transparent, and I like the idea that you could sort of, it sort of emulated that translucent jellyfish. And so this bag here, it's like a garlic bag. I painted it and printed it. That became the scales for the snake in the jungle. I love leaf prints. I'm from Australia, and so when I go back home to see mum and dad, they've got this amazing, massive, overgrown garden. So often I like to go and help them with the gardening, and then just do a bit of trimming as well. And some of the leaves they have there are massive. So yeah, they're fun things. I think nature's amazing, so I want to reference it as much in my artwork. This is sort of the sketch that was the mountain scene during the night. And so I'd start by doing pencil outlines of the animals, and then I'd fill in the leaves and the details in black pen. And then once I've done that, I scan it into Photoshop and I clean up the artwork, and then I color it all up. And where you see the gray bits, that became the silver foil in the book. This is a castle spread. And I think I sort of like to think of images first in shapes. So there's space here for the text. And once I'm happy with how the shape and the composition works, and then I start to add color. And I spend a lot of time sort of figuring out the right color palette as well. And once I'm happy with that, and then I add lots of textures. And there's lots of things like marble paper, and like where the dots follow the curves, they're sort of drawn dot by dot. The nighttime sky, because I wanted the stars to be like a sprinkling, a random sprinkling. That's like where I got the toothbrush and splattered the paint. And then the moon itself is a potato stamp. And once I have all the words and images together, they all get laid out in a program called InDesign. And once we have that, we send that to the printers who print the books for us. And that's how the book is made. And I know we touched upon this previously, but with the with the paperback cover, when it came to designing that, we spoke about how we wanted to sort of see a different perspective of Starbird, because the book came out a bit later, a few years later. it was nice to sort of freshen it up a bit, and so tried a few different compositions of it, and in the end went for that sort of like bright, colourful jungle scene. And yeah, that's it really. So I hope you enjoyed that talk.
Oh, that was fantastic, Sharon.
It was. Thank you ever so much. That was absolutely fascinating.
Well, we've
Oh,
I've got just wanted to swap places. We've had some lovely comments come in, Sharon. So we've got Emma here. She's loving how you find out about the behind the scenes.
Oh, thanks.
People just loving the illustrations.
Oh,
Tal says beautiful illustrations.
wow.
Alphabetals, beautiful. And
yeah.
so
I
have
think
I got this? Oh, go on, Tiff.
I was going to say, as you did the reading, and the foil was glinting and shining, and it looked absolutely fabulous.
Amazing.
Is it expensive to use that much foil in a book?
I'm actually quite surprised that we got away with it, to be honest. Yes. Yeah, no, I think
Definitely worth it.
yes. No, I'm sitting in my husband's study and I'm not used to sort of being here, and it's quite nice. I wasn't expecting there to be so much sunshine today, so it's actually quite nice that
It was really clear to see, and it really made the foil glint and dazzle. It looks fantastic.
thank you.
We actually had Meltham C of E were asking, why is it silver? Is there a reason it's silver foil? Is that your favourite colour, or does it represent something?
I guess I was thinking sort of starlight, and I sort of tend to think of, I don't know if that's just sort of a misconception in my head, but I always think of stars as sort of silver and you know, quite magical and clean, I guess. So yeah, and I thought it kind of worked well with the colour palette that I had in mind as well. So yeah. But I do like silver, yeah. Yes.
And that might lead us into, I was going to say the Heaton Avenue question.
Yeah. Heaton Avenue have been all over this today. We've got loads of lovely comments from them.
Amazing.
So this one, they're just loving the use of technology to enhance the illustrations, and they think they're amazing.
I love technology too.
And then shall I show one of the early questions they asked was about the title, about why you chose the title Starbird.
I guess for me, yeah, I guess I kind of wanted the Moon King and the Starbird to sort of complement each other in a way, and yeah, it was kind of quite a visual thing, I guess. Yeah, with because that was sort of the print that I did originally that I saw at the fair, and I guess technically the stars and there's a bird. So that's how it kind of came about.
We've got another one from Heaton Avenue here. So where did you learn to draw?
So I guess I always, when I was a child, I always loved just like doodling and colouring in. And when I left school, I just remember being in Year 12 in high school, and the careers person was saying to me, so what do you want to do for a living? And I had no idea. I always knew I loved art. But then she talked about this job called like an illustrator, where you can kind of, you know, you can draw, and that sounded amazing. So I went to university. It was University of Technology in Sydney, and I studied visual communication, majoring in illustration. And you know, to be honest, I feel like you know, I'm still like experimenting, and I'm still kind of learning a lot about the practice as well, and yeah, technology and things like technologies that exist now. We didn't have all those years back. And so, you know, the great thing about drawing is that it's constantly evolving, and, you know, things like the iPad, like, you know, that's an entirely different approach to drawing. But yeah, it's, anyway, it began all those years ago as a tiny child, just spending my hours with pencils and crayons. And, you know, that's like such a magical moment though, where, you know, you kind of can draw anything you want like that. You create your own world, your own imagination. If you want to create a world where, I don't know, everything's upside down, you can. So I think that's like a sort of precious thing that all children should really enjoy as much as possible. Because yeah, you get a little bit out of it. That's pretty cool.
That's excellent. And my eldest daughter asked me to ask you this question for her. So she's called May and wanted to know if you've got any advice for people who love drawing and are thinking of doing it as a career.
I'd say keep drawing. Just like be inspired by the world. Like what I love about what I do is that everything in the world sort of can inspire me, like people in the park, anything that you see, like somebody's t-shirt, whatever. And I think it's really nice to sort of I just keep doing it, keep experimenting, and yeah, just enjoy it as much as possible. And you know, if there's somebody out there who is doing something that you want to do, then sort of, you know, just find what their path was, and you know, kind of will help you figure out your own path and how you get to where you want to be, I guess, as well. So yeah.
Thank you.
I presume the same sort of thing is true for writing, because we've got Heaton Avenue again wanting to know how long you've been an author. Did that start at a similar age to the drawing?
So God, I don't know. I guess I came over to London in 2003, and I basically came with my backpack from Sydney. And I actually had thought I'd go work in a bar and a pub and then go back home to Australia after maybe see a bit of Europe. But then actually I ended up getting a job in publishing, and I really loved it. But I was designing then. And then I went off, did a bit of, I worked in a music studio, a design studio on like album covers for 6 years. And then it was after that moment I realized, because I really loved working for other people, like I was working with like some of my favorite bands, but then I realized that I wanted a sort of like meteor project. And I think it was during that time I thought I actually really want to do my own books. And then I got a job in publishing as a designer, and then slowly, I think it was in 2014, I had my first book published. That was Lucy Ladybird. And that was something that I worked on for a few years, like sort of, you know, just on the weekends and during the night and stuff around my other job. But yeah, I guess it kind of happened, I don't know, early 2010s.
Right.
So not that long, but I think. But I guess it's longer than a lot of the children have been alive. So
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had a good question about sort of linked to the music industry, didn't we, Tiff? If I hold the picture up.
Yeah. So yeah, we were going to ask on that picture, we wondered, does it represent the music, or does it represent the girls' dreams that are inspired by Starbird's music?
Both. Yeah, so I guess the idea was that that's like a visual representation of Starbird singing this amazing song, and then like it's crossing over with like, yeah, the girls' dreams as well. So yes, both. Well done.
I was really pleased you talked about the ending as well. And when I read the ending, there's that feeling where you really want that he's like listened to his daughter and he's released Starbird, and then I don't know whether everyone at home, it goes the wrong way when I move it, whether everyone at home saw the like little picture of Starbird in the sky, and then my heart was in my mouth thinking, oh no, does that mean that Starbird's gone to heaven?
Well, you can decide that for yourself. Yes, I know. Yeah, there's been a comment that maybe it feels a bit unfinished, but I feel like really strongly that it's a nice sort of way to involve the reader in it. So
definitely, and to hold both ideas in your head at the same time as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, the pictures in the negative space, I think, are something that every time you read it, you see more things.
I had so much fun doing that. Yeah.
So, were we right in thinking, Sharon, that you were saying in the daytime you can always see Starbird, so there's Starbird, but the king is always hidden. So
Yes.
So the king's asleep. He's always hidden in the daytime ones. And in nighttime, the king is represented by the moon and
Yes,
Starbird
correct.
is hidden. So Starbird's hidden somewhere.
Yes, exactly. Yes. No,
Yeah.
it was fun. I think when I was growing up, my favorite book was this book called The 11th Hour by this Australian artist called Graham Bass. And I discovered that book at our school library, and I thought it was the most magical book. Basically, it's a sort of almost a riddle where there's this party and it's very extravagant and amazing. But then when it gets to actually the feast, it's all been eaten up. And there's this secret code at the back of the book where you have to try and figure out who ate the feast. And there's all these like hidden images and things inside the book. I just thought it was like amazing. So I feel I was that kind of inspired me to sort of want to create something that just had like a bit more layering, and just if you want to go back and sort of discover things, you can do. Yeah.
Well, I still keep seeing different animals hidden in it and noticing different things, and I've read it many times now.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear.
Tiff, do you think it's a good time now for the draw along? Because you're actually going to show us how to draw Starbird, aren't you, Sharon?
Yes, I am. Yes.
And then we'll have some more. If you want to get ready for that, and we'll come back to you in a second.
Okay, perfect.
So we're going to have more questions for Sharon in a little while. And we just wanted to do a bit of a shout out, because we know that lots of schools are watching. But for the ones that have contacted us beforehand, we wanted to say hi to some of those. So hi to Meltham C of E. I know you're watching.
Yeah, and hello to Our Lady of Lords. I think Year 5 and Year 6 are going to be watching. So hi. And
I know Moreland's in Salandine Nook. Hopefully you're getting involved as well.
And thank you to Heaton Avenue in Cleckheaton. We know that you're watching live, and we're really enjoying getting all your questions in. We'll ask some more of those at the end of the draw along.
And we've got Old Bank in Murfield. And
we've got Crow Lane as well. Hi, Crow Lane.
And hi to Healy Infant and Nursery School. And hello to all the other schools that are watching that we haven't had a chance to say hi to. Now, I think we're just getting ready for Sharon. Have you all got your paper? I'm gonna try and be brave and try and do it in a pen, but you can use a pencil or a pen, whatever you fancy.
And right. Sharon will be giving us some ideas for how, at the end of the programme, you could spend more time and develop your picture further as well. Right, I think she might be ready. Shall we put her back on?
Hiya, Sharon.
Hello, hi. I borrowed my children's easel, but the only thing is that my youngest daughter has a thing for unscrewing it, so it might be a bit wobbly, but hopefully it will stand up for long enough to show you how to draw Starbird. Okay, so pencils ready or pens ready. So we're going to begin by doing Starbird's head. So it's going to be in the shape of an upside down U, just like that. And then once you've done that, I'm going to actually do the tail. So I'm going to just leave a bit of space here just for Starbird's wings. And I'm just going to start by, you kind of do a slight curve that comes in and then out again. And then same to the other side, just kind of like measuring it, sort of thinking that's where his wings are going to go. So just bring your tip down so it's kind of in line, and then curve in, out again. Once you've got that, and then once you've done that, I'm going to finish off his tail. So it's just a series of sort of almost like a wave. And then once you finish his tail, I'm going to start by doing his wings. So a nice big sweeping curve for one side, and same over on this side. And once you have the wings done, then I'm going to begin with doing the hands in the negative space. So starting here, I'm going to start by doing the thumb and then count the fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then join it right back up to the body. Once you've got that, I'm just going to join that hand back to the tip of the wing on that side. And then same on this side. So I'm going to start by doing maybe the little finger side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring that on and then draw it back to the tick. And once you have that done, then I'm going to add the beak. So the beak is like an upside down V. Just there, you can kind of see it. Sorry. And then once that's done, I'm going to do the eyes. So with the eye, I like to sort of, it's almost like an S shape, which is like the top of the eyelid and then just a little flick, almost like an eyelash. And then once I've done that, it's just a tiny little drawing there. So it's like a little curve. And then the pupil of the eye there. And then same on the other side. So it's almost like a backwards S on this side, like that. And then just join it up there. So it's like the bottom lid of the eye and then the pupil again. And once you've got that basic shape, you can go and do the pattern of Starbird, which is quite simple. So these are just going to be like little semicircles, just to cover his back as well. So on his back, he's got these semicircles, but his belly's got the stars on it. And on the actual book cover, I've made these with potato stamps, but I'm just going to quickly draw these in view like this, and you can spend as long as you want decorating them. Or you can actually design your own Starbird, do whatever design you'd like. And now, if you do want to spend more time, I've got these potato stamps, which I've made earlier. So I am now going to try and paint it. Sometimes with potato stamps, potatoes can be a bit wet. So I let them air dry for a bit, or just get like a paper towel just to get some of the moisture away. And so I'm just going to paint it like so. And then just do these stars. I quite like it when it gets a bit imperfect and you lose a bit of the detail as well. And then I've got this other slightly different star shape here. So yeah, basically these, I quite like it when they're a bit wonky. And so just get a knife, cut the sort of sides carefully, maybe get an adult's help though, of course, just to mention. And that's Starbird. If you want to spend more time, you can get other things like the toothbrush. I should have got one now, but I haven't actually, I'm afraid. But if you dip a toothbrush in paint, then you splatter it, then you get some like nice random stars, little stars as well. So that's it.
Oh, thanks, Sharon. We've been inspired here. I hope you've all been having a go at school or at home. Should we show ours, Tiff?
Yeah, you do yours first.
That was nice.
Oh, I love it.
That's right. I have to mine in pencil, so it's not easy to see. But I really enjoyed doing that.
Oh, cool. That's so good to see. It's so good to see.
Do you know what I need after this session? Well, when I finish work, I need to have a go at the potato stamping. I haven't done it since I was a kid, but I think you forget sometimes you do things. So some of you at school might have actually done it more recently. And then sometimes when you're a grown up, you forget these techniques. But I think it's a great excuse to revisit them.
No, definitely. Yeah, I think so. And also like getting leaf prints and things like that. You can kind of, find random objects around the house. Sometimes if there's like bad fruit in the house, I like to get some bad fruit and then like just paint that and just see what marks it makes. Because you get all sorts of interesting textures as well. And then, they become different things. So
yes. Do you just, Sharon, if you just come slightly across the screen, we've got the lovely bit. Yeah, we can see Starbird. We can't see you at the minute.
Oh, yes.
Because you said you used an onion as well. Do you paint that and then get the concentric circles when you print?
Yes, exactly. I think I've made lots of tree trunks and things like that in the past. So also if you get an onion, chop it in half, like if you slice it and then chop it in half, that becomes like a nice rainbow as well. So you can have all the different rings, different colors too. So there's lots of things you can do in nature.
I'm definitely going to try that.
Yes, Well, my favorite is like when you get like a celery, and then if you chop the bottom bit, so you get like all the stalks. If you print that, that like looks like a flower, for example. So it's,
Who knew?
yeah, nature's amazing. It really is.
Oh, we've had this lovely comment from Emma. You can create such beauty with a potato and a toothbrush.
My favorite tools.
And we'd really love to see what everyone's been drawing in school and at home, and share it with Sharon. So if you send, oh, Olivia's pressed it for me. If you send photographs of your work into our email address, lal@kirklees.gov.uk, then we'll put them up on the website. We've got a page for Sharon and today's event, so we'll be able to share those, and you'll be able to look at them. Sorry, I took it away. You'll be able to see your work on the website.
I can't wait to see them. Thank you.
Right, I think we've got time for a few more questions and comments. Excuse me, we've got this one from Faye. The many processes you use to build the illustrations look so absorbing and exciting. Is that one of your favourite aspects of creating the book? And it's encouraging to those who might be shy of drawing?
Definitely. Like I actually sometimes think I'm not that great a drawer myself, and I think by employing lots of different mediums and things, like I feel like I'm more of a designer. Like I like to sort of reference things and pull things in, and yeah, like I feel like there's so many different ways you can approach it, and I think by sort of finding things that you're interested in, that also helps guide your voice. Like I think because I grew up in Australia, we used to like my school was actually set on like bushland, and so we'd go and like find these little gum nuts, and I think I always spent a lot of time just like looking at like little bits of nature, and I think that's probably helped inform the way that I work now. And so whatever your interests are, like it's great that you can kind of approach it from any way that you want. So yeah, it's good to experiment and try different things. And I like to leave lots of space in my work for accidents too. So if I'm working on something, then I'm like, oh yeah, that's better than what I thought, than what I had in mind. I'd just like leave it. So yeah, it's quite organic as a process.
So should we do another question from Heaton Avenue? They've been asking how long it took to create Starbird, and how many books have you written or illustrated in total?
God, so Starbird, I think maybe took about 3 years or so. It was quite a long process. I think I was working on another book at the time, but that idea kind of happened, and as I work on I like to sort of work on a few different projects, because sometimes one might be like in an ideas phase, and other ones just doing like the artwork. But it took a long time, and to do all these illustrations and figure out what the ending was actually going to be. Number of books I've done. I think I've written and illustrated like 3 books: Lucy Ladybird, Snail Mail, Starbird, and then I've illustrated 2 books, Animal Alphabet and Counter Creatures, but they were both written by Julia Donaldson. So it's quite nice to sort of do the 2 different things, because they're quite different projects as well. I think when you write and illustrate, you're so sort of it's such an evolving process, but then if you're just given the words, like I was with Julia's amazing words, it was nice to just go off and explore visually how it could work, and you're sort of got this set parameter which allow me to be creative in other ways as well. So yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Right, just a couple more I think, and then we'll have to wind it up, unfortunately. But we've got this one from Taz. Taz says, did you always freelance as an illustrator, or did you start off working for a company? I know you said you worked for a record company and things, but...
Yes. So I worked as... I kind of always... I freelance, but then I worked for other companies as well at the same time. So I published to begin with, but then I worked for a design studio, and that was for 6 years or so. But I find and I work for a publisher now as well, so it's like really helpful to kind of, like, I like to do different things at the same time, because then I'm not too focused on one thing. I think, like, if I'm too focused on one thing, then I find that I obsess over it and I get stuck in it. Whereas if I'm sort of doing this thing and then the idea for this other thing comes along, it's almost like letting your unconscious brain work on something. So yeah, I always freelance but do other things as well, just to like to have things in different buckets. So yeah.
And we had another question from Meltham wanted to know, did you have a favourite author? And I'm going to add to that a favourite illustrator as well.
Oh yes. So because I grew up in Australia, I really love a lot of the Australian voices. Like, I think when I was younger, like as a child, I loved the work of like Jenny Baker, for example. She does like these amazing, like intricate, like collages built up with like all sorts of fan materials. And she did this amazing book called The Window and Where the Forest Meets the Sea. It's a lot about like the environmental impact. And then as I grew older, at uni, I remember because I was studying illustration, that's when the work of Sharon Tan started coming out. He did his first picture books. And from the very first moment I saw him, I was obsessed. I think he's probably one of the most amazing voices and talents. Like, I adore his work. And I think it's just, they're sort of my favourites.
Yeah, I think if there's any of the schools watching that, stock up your school library with Sharon Tan books.
He's an absolute legend, and I just think, he's just got such a unique voice as well. So, very, very incredible. You won't be sorry.
And
it's always good to get recommendations.
Can we ask you what you're working on at the moment?
Yes. At the moment, I'm working, I think I'm allowed to say, I hope I am. I'm working on the next Julie Donaldson book. So the first one was an animal alphabet book. Second was Counting Creatures. This one's based in colour. So it's very sort of, it's very fun to do. I'm working in a slightly different way as well for it. So I think with every book that I do, I slightly work in a different way, just because I feel like each one then has its own character. And I've also got some ideas for my own idea, which I'm very slowly digging away at. So that's on my plate.
Excellent. We can't wait to see them in the libraries. And then we've got we have a team of young volunteers called the Bibliosmiacs, and every time they meet an author, they always ask this question. So on their behalf, we feel we have to ask it. And I'm just looking to put it up, but I can't find it. So we might. Oh, there we go. Olivia's found the banner. If you were a biscuit, and they do eat a lot of biscuits when they used to come to the libraries for their meetings, what biscuit would you be?
I'd say I'd be a Tim Tam. Growing up in Australia, Tim Tams are like Australian penguins, I think, and there's like all sorts of ways you can eat them. Like, it's like basically biscuit, chocolate, and then it's like wrapped, encased in more chocolate. But there's a Tim Tam slam dunk, which is where you bite the top and the bottom of the biscuit, and then you drink a hot tea through the Tim Tam. You get quite creative with it. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like there was no hesitation. You were straight in there with the Tim Tam.
I don't know.
I definitely need to be more creative in the way I eat my biscuits. I think
I've tried that with a Kit Kat. I'm going to try it with a penguin now.
Let us know how it goes.
Right, well, thank you, Sharon. This has been fantastic. We've really enjoyed it, and like I say, we've had loads. I think this is probably one of the most comments we've ever had, all the people wanting to get involved.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you everyone for watching as well. It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Right, so we'll say goodbye to you now, Sharon, and then me and Tiff are just going to talk for a few minutes. So thanks again, Sharon, and we'll hopefully see you for your next book.
I'd love to have you back.
I'd love to be back. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I think I was going to tell everyone now a little bit more about the Greenaway Awards and about shadowing. So all across the country, we've got groups of children working together to shadow the judges, to look at the short list of books and judge them too. And there's lots of different activities and things you can get involved with. So I will share you the website. So you can get involved on the Greenaway website, and I'll put the address up nice and big for you. There you go. It's carnegiegreenaway.org.uk, and there's a whole section for Greenaway that shows the 8 books that have been shortlisted. So any one of these 8 might win the prize. And for each book, there's a page for it. So we've got Starbird's page here. I'm just checking that you can see the same as me.
We can see it, Tiff.
So you can find out more about the book, and you can do book reviews, share artwork, find out about the illustrators, and you can have your own work and your reviews published on the website for the other reviewers, other shadowers to see. And there's also little videos with activities that you can get involved in, other videos that tell you more about the illustrators' influences and their creative process. And for the teachers, there's huge banks of activity ideas and lesson plans and resources there as well. So I do hope lots of you will be inspired by today's event with Sharon to get involved further and maybe even look at some of the other books that are shortlisted too.
And we've got copies of Sharon's books in the library, so you can get your hands on a real life copy of the book in our libraries. Now we're able to open up a lot more. We've also got online copies, so you can borrow a copy, an ebook on Libby or Overdrive. And like Tiff said, if you want to get involved in Greenaway shadowing, it's a fantastic opportunity. You can pick this year's books, or you can go back and you can pick them from a previous year, maybe with a group of friends or with the group in school. You can go to the library, get the books, and there's all sorts of shadowing ideas, so you can take part and do it however you like, really. Right, I think I'm going to finish with this lovely quote that's just come in at the last minute from Kerry Lockyer. Thank you so much, Sharon and Kirklees Libraries. Amazing talk and so creatively inspiring. Well, thank you, Kerry. And thanks everyone for watching and for all your questions.
Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. Thank you very much. Oh, and if you want another event similar to this, don't forget you can find on the website, we've got all the different LAL events. And you can go back and look at previous ones, and you can see what we've got coming up on every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock.
And you'll also see your artwork. If you send it to us, that's where it'll appear. Right. Bye for now.
Bye.